Throughout the years, some people have purposefully used aliases or stage names. For example, famous rapper Tupac's real name is a mystery. He went by Tupac when he started his career. In some cases, like in the case of the infamous outlaw Jesse James, historical figures were called by an alias so that they could be harder to catch. Other times, though, historical figures are referred to by their last name as opposed to their first, simply because no one knows their first name. Here are historical figures whose identities are still a mystery. Vote up the figures from the past that you're still wondering about today. The hijacker of a Northwest Orient Airlines aircraft in 1971 went under the moniker D.B. Cooper, which has become synonymous with his actions. An unassuming guy in his 40s, Cooper boarded the short trip from Portland to Seattle, WA, with a bourbon and soda in his hand. When the flight attendant saw a message, he informed her about the device on board. The suitcase looked to contain an incendiary device, so Cooper showed her what appeared to be an incendiary device. He demanded $200,000 in $20 notes and 4 parachutes. During the time it took to prepare Cooper's ransom, the aircraft flew circles above Seattle. While the passengers were allowed to exit, many crew members were ordered to remain aboard and carry him to Mexico City once he received the money and demanded equipment. Is this another strange request? Under 10,000 feet, they were supposed to fly the aircraft. Cooper leaped out of the aircraft at this altitude, over southwestern Washington, with the money. They think Cooper did not survive the jump because he would have parachuted into the wilderness in terrible weather circumstances without suitable equipment, and they believe he would not have been a skilled skydiver because of the equipment he did have. Those who think he is still alive refer to the fact that after thorough searches, none of Cooper's belongings or his corpse have been discovered. On 1980, around $6,000 of Cooper's ransom money was discovered buried in the banks of the Columbia River, adding to the mystery. It's the only $200,000 of that total ever found. As an amateur crime historian, Eric Ulis has a theory that the FBI was searching for Cooper, and any evidence he may have left behind, in the wrong place. The case of D.B. Cooper has been unsolved for 45 years, and the FBI has yet to even identify him. It was decided to halt the inquiry in July 2016 since there was not enough evidence to link him to his identity or to the lost funds. Despite this, a number of individuals have claimed to know Cooper's identity throughout the years. As a former Boeing employee, Cooper may have a working understanding of aircraft mechanics. Robert Rackstraw, an ex-military helicopter pilot, has been identified as the real Cooper. On the other hand, many people believe the lady who came forward to say Cooper was her uncle and that he had planned the entire affair during a family meeting in 1971. Despite the large number of suspicions, no one has been able to prove clearly who Cooper was. The man with the iron mask, the iron myth was popularized by later accounts. The man's identity has been a mystery for years, but historians have narrowed the possible candidates to 2. King Louis XIV imprisoned the enigmatic masked man for many decades at the Bastille and other French prisons, 1643 to 1715. Despite the fact that he has spawned several tales and myths, no one has ever seen the man's face or known why he was imprisoned. While some believe he was a member of the royal family or a disgraced French commander, others believe he was just a prisoner. Ercole Mathioli and Eustache Dogger were the only 2 individuals held in long-term detention during the Man in the Iron Mask time period. Mathioli was an Italian noble who misled King Louis XIV during a political deal. When the prisoner's identity was buried beneath Marchioli, Louis XV and Louis XVI were alleged to have claimed that the guy in the mask was an Italian nobleman, whose name is eerily similar to the alias. The unidentified prisoner, on the other hand, may have been Dogger rather than Mathioli, since some historians believe the latter died in 1703 while the former lived until 1694. Even though Dogger's true identity is unknown, most agree that he was taken into custody and moved to several French jails. A common belief is that Dogger was a political aide who got entangled in a scandal. But there are many who claim he was a drunken aristocrat, Louis XIV's twin brother, or a botched assassin. In the history of NASCAR, a guy has been said to have fooled drivers, sponsors, and competition authorities in order to get away with equipment and money that wasn't his. LW Wright swiftly advanced through the ranks in 1982 to compete in the Winston 500 at the Talladega Superspeedway, where he finished in the top 10. NASCAR authorities were deceived into thinking that country music singers had endorsed Wright. Wright was able to get a racing sponsorship thanks to this advertising ploy. Incredibly, he made it through the qualification race and earned a seat in the Winston 500, despite not having any racing experience. Before the race had started, it became evident that Wright had no racing experience whatsoever. Sterling Marlin, Wright's mechanic and future NASCAR driver, subsequently said that during strategy conversations, Wright didn't appear to have any concept what was going on and asked basic racing questions. During the race, Wright's engine broke and he fled from the track in the team's semi-truck, disqualifying him. As a result of Wright's check bouncing, sponsors, who had given him $37,000, firms that had sold him gear, and his racing team all started searching for him and the money he owed them. All they could discover was that Wright wasn't who he claimed to be, and several private detectives were hired to track him down. To this day, no one knows LW Wright's true identity. He is widely believed to have been a scam artist, but some feel he was just a thrill seeker who was attempting to fulfill his lifelong ambitions. It's interesting to note that one of the most well-known British graffiti artists has never stepped out to claim his fame or expose his identity publicly. He is just known as Banksy to the general public. When Banksy first started spray painting in Bristol in the early 1990s, he was known for his unique stencil art technique. Many people see his work as political commentary, and others have taken some of his compositions to relate to pollution and homelessness. It's possible that Banksy has kept his name a secret for so long since doing graffiti and street art in the UK is considered a criminal offence. Banksy's work started to spread outside Britain, appearing in Paris, Bethlehem, and New York City. It didn't take him long to become a well-known figure whose work may bring upwards of £1 million at auction. In an anonymous interview, Banksy revealed a little bit about how he got started in the field of art. "I grew up in a town in southern England that was rather tiny. A boy named 3D was spray painting the streets when I was 11 years old. In my opinion, he was the first person to bring spray painting back to Bristol from New York City. In my childhood, I witnessed spray paint being used in public places before seeing it in any magazine or internet." Robin Gunningham is the most widely accepted theory as to his identity, although there are others out there as well. Because of his reputation as a gifted artist among his old classmates, Gunningham has been mistakenly identified as Banksy by several. Another idea claims that Banksy is massive attacks Robert Del Naja, a well-known graffiti artist who used to go by 3D. It is possible that 3D and Banksy might have been one and the same artist. Others believe that Banksy is a group of individuals, with Del Naja as the leader. Claims that Del Naja is Banksy have been disproved. When a British DJ known as DJ Goldie was interviewed on a podcast, more suspicion was aroused. The conversation on Banksy was interrupted by Goldie's comment, "I have nothing but admiration for Rob as an artist. I believe he has revolutionized the art world." Some listeners believe that Goldie accidentally referred to Banksy as Banksy. Rob, unfortunately, still refers to either Robin or Robert, their top suspects. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe to our channel and like the video.